This story happened a while ago, but it still messes with my mind. Side note, I live in a quiet countryside where there's usually nothing happening. I'm an 18-year-old girl who can easily walk around my hometown alone without even being scared because it's really safe here. I really can't recall of any crimes the whole time I lived here. So, as usual, me and my dog went for a walk one evening. It was nice weather outside, so I decided to go to a nearby field. I usually let my dog out of her leash there. She's a very good dog and always comes back when I call for her. We get to the field, and everything is going really well and nothing seems off, except I have this kind of odd feeling in my gut that I never usually have. The last time I had the same feeling was when I was 8 years old and we were driving at night with my family. At the time, I even told my parents about it, saying, "I feel like something is wrong. We should be careful." They slowed down the car because I was oddly serious at the moment, and about a minute after I said it, a deer came out of nowhere, which would have been crushed if we had gone by the same speed a minute before. We were all shocked. My mom thanked me for my gut feeling, and we proceeded onward. It's been 10 years since, but while in that field I got the same gut feeling. Whatever, I thought, but proceeded to completely ignore it. We rolled around the fields and went through a nearby forest until the sun started to set. I put the leash back onto my dog's collar and decided to leave from one of the tiny paths that go through the small forest. While it's not the most popular path, it is the quickest way home. As I'm walking along that path, I suddenly spot a silhouette at the end of the road just before the forest starts. I think nothing of it at that point and kept walking, but a few moments later, my strong gut feeling returned, and I stared at the silhouette for a while. It was then that I noticed that the silhouette was staring at me without moving. I just thought that maybe they were waiting for someone, because at first the silhouette looked like a child's. But as I got closer, I noticed that it wasn't a child, but a grown man who was riding what looked like a child's bicycle. I continued getting closer, and I could see it was a blue-green boy's bicycle that his legs were clearly too long for. It looked like he was forcing himself to ride it. It honestly was a very unsettling sight. Still, my dumb ass didn't want to turn around and have a couple of kilometers worth of wasted time. Even though it was creepy looking, I still thought, maybe he's waiting for someone that comes from my way? But every step I took, he followed me with an intense expression. I'm only like about 20 meters away from him when he starts to do weird jumps on his bike, all while smiling the ugliest and the most unsettling smile I've ever seen, just staring at me with wide eyes. He looked like he was expecting something, or someone, and was so excited about it that he needed to jump. Being that close, the guy looked like he was in his 50s. He had very long and thin legs and arms, a bald head, and of course, that creepy, unsettling smile. That's when alarm bells in my head went on. I glanced behind me to see no one was there. It was just me, an 18-year-old, small-framed girl with her fluffy, friendly dog. I did a 360-degree turn and started to jog from where I came from, just in case. I glanced at him and sighed in relief when I noticed he wasn't following me or anything. I thought that maybe he wasn't waiting for me after all, and called myself stupid and a scaredy cat. Turns out, I was so wrong. My adrenaline starts to slow down again as I'm in the middle of the fields and I still see no sign of him following me. I let my dog out of her leash again and she starts to run around. I'm nearly at the end of the field and have about a kilometer of forest left until I reach home, when my dog spots a rabbit or some other interesting thing and flies towards it. I panic because she has never done that before and yell for her. I yell plenty of times for her loudly and she finally comes back. I'm relieved that nothing happened to her, but as I put her back on her leash, I notice something from the corner of my eye. The freaking bald long-legs man is biking towards me, and he's looking dead at me. Not past me, not the ground. He's looking right in my eyes. To say I freaked out wasn't enough to express my feelings at that moment. I've never seen a human who looks so crazy. More than crazy, really. What surprised me the most was that he was biking through the field, and I can tell you it is not an easy field to even walk sometimes. It has muddy ponds that you need to jump over, but that psycho just biked right through them. Sure, he was straining himself to bike through, but still somehow managed to do so. I didn't watch for another second behind me because my instincts told me to just start running. I ran well past my usual limit, and my asthma kicked in, making me see black and nearly collapsing. My lungs hurt so bad that I thought I was dying, but the adrenaline was enough to keep my heart and legs running. I glanced behind me, and he was still following, but struggling badly to maintain full speed, still sporting his ugly white smile. I continued to run like crazy until I found a house and hid in their yard, not even caring that I was technically trespassing. It didn't matter to me in that moment at all. I waited for a while, completely wiped and out of breath, and luckily he didn't come. I was planning to yell as loudly as I could just in case he did find me. At some point the adrenaline left my body and I left my hiding spot. I ran again until I reached an area which had multiple people in their yard, so I would have help if I saw him again. I dialed 911 into my phone, but couldn't bring myself to hit the call button, mostly because I had no proof and I didn't want my parents to find out, as they are overbearing and overprotective, and this would likely result in me not being able to leave my house alone for a while. Ironically, I'm now very paranoid about going out alone after this incident. Hell, even my dog was a bit frightened. She's become more jumpy since then. Maybe she noticed something was off with the guy too. I swear to God that I will always listen to my gut when it's telling me something from now on. I'm still scared of potentially seeing him out there. I shudder to think what awful things he'd do to me if he ever got in close proximity. I still can't forget his awful smile. I feel like he's gonna jump in through my window one night and do what he wants to me. I feel so paranoid and helpless. I'm still thinking about calling the police. I have several stories to share that fit the let's not meet category, but I'll start with the most recent. Yesterday I took my son fishing. We wanted to go to a nearby lake that we haven't been to in quite some time. It's not known to be a great area. For some background, the last time we went, about a year ago, a car drove by and screamed, "Nice ass," at me while I stood there with my young son. This kind of garbage behavior is unfortunately expected in the area. It's also known to be a late-night hookup spot, as well as a late-night drug deal location. Due to the lake's reputation, I had made a deal with my dad that I wouldn't stay there past 4 p.m. without him. Now, on to the story. My 12-year-old son, who looks much younger than he is, and I pulled up at our favorite fishing spot, a small pond on the opposite side of the road as the lake. Almost immediately, an older gentleman approached us asking if there were fish in the pond. I replied that we had just gotten started, so nothing yet, but that we had caught fish in the pond on plenty of other occasions. He thanked us for the information and returned to a spot on the other side of the road. About 15 minutes later, another younger man approaches the older man with a dog. I can see and hear them chatting. They've made no move to involve us in the conversation, which I'm glad for. I just want to enjoy a day with my son. Unfortunately, the water in the pond was incredibly low and murky, and I could tell we weren't going to have any luck. I tell my son to pack it up, and we'll try another spot on the other side of the lake. As we begin packing our gear into the trunk, the younger man yells over, "Sorry if my dog and I ran you off." I tell him it's no problem, and we were simply moving to a better fishing spot. He then starts telling me how nice it is to see a mom taking her kid fishing, how you don't see that very often, etc. I get this a lot, so I'm pretty used to it. We have a short conversation about it as I pack up and I then move towards the driver's side doors to depart. Before I can leave, the younger man starts up another conversation, this time asking me how old I think he is. This feels strange to me, but I'm nice to a fault sometimes, so I answer his question. I tell him I'm a horrible judge of age, so maybe 25. He tells me he's 38, and I'm too kind, and I laugh it off, saying something like, I work with teenagers, so they always guess me well above my age just to be mean. He asks where I work, and I stupidly tell him the name of the city it's located in. Turns out he lives there too, and starts going on and on about how he got a free apartment on such and such street because his baby mama kicked him out of their house. I think he's talking about some kind of government assistance program. Weird flex, but okay, man. At this point, I'm standing by the car door with my hand on the handle, and my son is already in the back seat. This guy can't take the hint and starts telling me all about his awful baby mama and how women are supposed to be submissive, quiet, and do what they're told. He specifically said, I mean, it's cool that you can bait a hook or whatever, but you're still a woman. Now, my alarm bells are blaring. This guy struck up a conversation by commending me for doing a typical dad thing with my kid. Now he's putting me down for the same thing. He's gone from being overly friendly and complimentary to agitated and ranting. I should have been rude and just got in the car and left, but I've unfortunately been conditioned, like many women, to be polite, even when we're uncomfortable. Instead, I start making comments in the hopes he'll see I'm not some meek, submissive woman who's going to agree with him. After all, I'm a tatted up chick with an eyebrow piercing and 2 lip piercings. I don't exactly look like a submissive little housewife. I guess I was trying to make him just as uncomfortable as he made me in the hopes he'd leave me alone. After he says women shouldn't be loud or opinionated, I tell him, oh, well, you wouldn't like me at all. He tries to backpedal, saying, I mean, it's okay to be loud, I guess, but don't try that with your man, you know? I replied, my man doesn't tell me shit. I do what I want. This kind of back and forth goes on for a while before he finally shakes his head and says, I just don't understand what kind of woman would act like that. I reply, a strong one. As soon as the words left my mouth, the older gentleman yells from his spot on the bank, yeah, say that again, honey. This distracted the creep long enough for me to hop in the car and lock the doors. I still don't feel safe, though. Unbeknownst to Creepazoid, only 2 of my car doors actually have functioning locks, but at least they're the 2 on his side. I put the key in the ignition and turn. No dice. Nothing. Of all the times for my car to act up, it chooses now. Panic has now set in. As I repeatedly try to start my car, I can see him out of the corner of my eye. He's taken notice of my car troubles and is trying to get my attention. As he takes a few steps towards my car, the engine finally roars to life and I peel out of there. Only then do I let my composure crumble and have a long talk with my son about what just happened. To the older gentleman who took notice of my discomfort and provided a distraction, I'd gladly meet with you again any day. To the younger, misogynistic creep, I don't know if I was actually in any danger from you, but my gut said I was. Let's never meet again. Oh, and to my dad, I'll make you a new deal. I'm never going to that lake alone again, regardless of the time of day.